All right, folks, welcome to another training tutorial here at Fireside Events. Today, we are focusing on wireless XLR. Let's get things started, folks. We went ahead and we set up our two speakers, the EV Evolve 50 and the QSC K10, probably the two speakers you're going to be utilizing this wireless system with the most. So we wanted to show you how this can be applied in the most frequent situation that you will be applying it in. But just know that this system can be used with any speaker that takes XLR cabling. So let's go ahead and get things started. We did set up our 4-foot booth here, standard DJ booth, running XLR out and into our primary speaker. So we do have XLR running into here, and we're going to be wirelessly transmitting XLR from our main speaker to our satellite speaker. This speaker would normally be set back in the rear of the room, in a large ballroom, for instance, to give full, even sound coverage. And the best utilization for that is where, hey, there's a plug really close back there, so you don't have to run extension cords. But you would, if you didn't have wireless XLR, have to run XLR cable. But in this case, you won't have to, as long as you set things up in the best way possible. So that's what we're going to teach you right now. A couple things that are very key and important for this utilization is this cable right here. This is a dual IEC input and output cable. So you're going to want to utilize these in both scenarios so that you can have power for both the speaker and for our wireless transmitter and receiver. Because we're not going to be using batteries with these, we're actually using hardwired power. So we're going to start out by placing these down here, and that's going to allow you to plug in your wireless XLR there, and then also utilize these 15-foot extension cables that we really have bought specifically for this reason, for this purpose here. So it essentially gives you, we're used to using 15-foot IEC cables, so in essence, that's what this is creating. So we're going to go ahead and plug that in here to power that up. We're going to want to do the same thing over at our other speaker. We can just stay right here. And there's a unique way that we like to do this. I'm a big fan of keeping things clean, obviously, and I don't love the idea of having a plug connection running down the back. So what I like to do here is spin this around, and it actually tucks in underneath here pretty well. And then you'll see when we connect our 15-footer in there, you can just drape down and around the back so your connection point is nice and hidden. Okay. Now, again, normally you would find an outlet in the back corner wherever this is set up, but since it's right here for this application, we're going to go ahead, we'll just plug it in at the booth. Okay, our next step, very important one, we're going to go ahead and find a clear frequency for our transmitter and our receiver. It's important to know the difference between your transmitter and your receiver. The easiest way to do it is to go onto the back, and you can see right here, diversity receiver, diversity transmitter. So transmitter, just remember, this is what you're going to be sending signal with, so you'll be wanting in this case to plug this running out of your EV speaker, this one right here. And the receiver is going to want to receive that signal at the satellite speaker, the K10 speaker. So we want to make these link with a frequency. We're going to do that first by powering things on. We've got these great aftermarket soldered battery adapter converters, which allow us to essentially not have to use batteries on this. Because again, we want this to simplify your life as a production DJ. We don't want you to have to set these up and be worrying, oh man, are those batteries going to run out 3 or 4 hours into the event and that speaker is going to just be done? We don't want that. So that's why we're going to hardwire these with this adapter. So go ahead, you'll plug that in. Like most of our adapters, we keep them stored separate from their power plug. It just helps to maintain the integrity of the cases. So just go ahead and put that plug into the adapter. And then this bit, I'm sorry, I probably neglected to show you how to do it, but there is a right and wrong way to do it. Just make sure the Sennheiser label is up and able to be read normally, and then this silver part right here and that silver part right there is matching up with the negative and positive sides. And you'll do it just like that. Might as well leave that open because we're going to need to use the on and off button to power it up here in just a moment. So you're going to want to get both of them powered up and turned on, and just like any wireless transmitter receiver that we use with our wireless handhelds, we're going to want to search our frequencies, and we're going to do this just like we do in the normal one. We'll press set and toggle up, to easy setup. There it is. I definitely went the long way around. And you'll toggle up to scan new list. Same exact way that we do it with our handheld wireless transmitters and receivers. We're gonna let that do its thing. Now would be a perfect time to go into your transmitter. Something that's very important about these, they send signal pretty hot and they have a pretty low ceiling for distortion and peaking. So what you're going to want to have on your transmitter is you're actually gonna want your sensitivity to be set at negative 42 decibels. We found that that is the sweet spot that you can live at so that not just the quieter moments, you know, the toasts and the background music is heard on the other speaker without distortion, but once you start partying, you know, once you start having a grand entrance and the music is way turned up, if you have this at anything higher than negative 42 decibels, it's gonna start clipping, it's gonna start peaking, and those speakers are not gonna sound good. So check this. We try and send it to you at negative 42 decibels, but it never hurts to double check to make sure that that sensitivity on this is negative 42. Likewise, we're gonna do a little check with the decibel level on here after we pick our frequency. So we've got 3 banks with 12 free frequencies. We're gonna pick, let's do this first one. Let's see how it looks. Beautiful. Just like on our other receiver boxes, we wanna see that radio frequency and audio frequency at rock bottom. That's happening here. That's awesome. So at this time, we'll go ahead and we will sync these two in a very similar way that we do to our wireless handheld microphones. We are going to use these infrared sensors located right here, and we're gonna go toggle in on the receiver to sync, and then we're going to have these kiss. Just make them about an inch apart from each other until you get that check. And now they should be synced. 530.100, we're good to go. Very cool, these are synced. Now, really quickly, I talked about those decibels. Negative 42 on the transmitter. We want our receiver, there is no threshold on the receiver, so we're going to want to make sure that the receiver is raised up as high as possible. This one's at +6, we want to take that up even further to +12. That's as high as it goes, and that's going to counteract the negative decibels that we're sending with our transmitter as much as possible. Because again, this can be as high as you want, and it won't cause any sort of peaking. So, your frequency's set, your decibel levels are set, these are good to go. We're now gonna go and power these off by holding down the on-off switch, and we are going to install them onto our speakers. So let's start off with the transmitter. Transmitter is going to be coming out of this EV50. Now, whenever I first started out, I loved that this could just like sit right here, and it was a perfect place, you know, out of sight from the audience, but I quickly learned that that is not the best place for this. So just take this idea out of your mind, because probably the most important thing, other than finding a clear frequency with these wireless XLR system, is making sure that you have a clear line of sight. Clear frequency really doesn't add up to much if there's gonna be bodies upon bodies blocking this antenna from the receiving antenna. So the best place that I found this to go is actually up here on top of the EV top. So you've got your power up there, excellent. You also need your audio signal, of course. So I found we need a couple things. Now, the special cable that's used for these devices, it is a headphone jack, an 1/8" jack that plugs into, let me do that again, into the mic line out, or rather in at this point, I'm sorry about that, in. And that's going to come out of your mix out on this speaker. But unfortunately, it's just a little too short to get you all the way up to the top of the speaker. So we're gonna use one of our 5-foot XLRs that we keep in that next to front pouch of our red backpack. And it ends up being the perfect distance to get you up to the top. So clean that up. I'm gonna run it down and through again. Again, make sure you're coming out of mix out. For whatever reason, if you come out of through, it actually lowers the overall decibels of this speaker. So you're gonna wanna actually be coming out of mix out and not through. All right, so when you go to place this transmitter on top of your EV50, you're going to want to locate a chair, something to step on top of. In this place, we have a step stool. Very simple, but every venue is going to have at least a chair that you can step on. to allow you to safely get on top of the speaker. And once you get up there, you're going to want to put it into position, make sure that it is turned on, which it is, and you're going to want to direct that antenna wherever your speaker, your satellite speaker that's going to be receiving the signal is, because you want to have as much of a direct shot towards that speaker. In this case, our speaker is right next to us, so we're going to put everything right here. Then we're going to come back. We're going to use good old-fashioned gaffer's tape. I love our bungee balls, but in this scenario, they just won't work. We can't wrap them around the front of the speaker. That just wouldn't be a good look. So we're gonna go ahead first and make a relatively long strip. We'll rip that in half. And we'll use that long strip to secure this transmitter into place on top of the speaker. Again, tape down the sides, obviously not down the front. And then we're going to use our remaining tape to bring the rest of these cables nice and neatly down the back of your EV speaker. All right. We are cleaned up here, everything's good. I will make a note right now, and I think I've said this before, but I failed to do it in this case. Technically, you should prove that the other end is receiving signal before you clean up. So I jumped the gun here, but hopefully you all will make this step next. So what we're going to do in this case, we're just gonna hope that this signal connects. I have a really good feeling it will. So we're gonna plug this in, power it on. This is our receiver. And if we're seeing the audio frequency at full peak, that means that it's receiving that transmission, which is awesome. That's a good sign. Now, we're gonna use the other cable that is in here. It's sort of the same idea. This is, once again, an 1/8 inch jack that's gonna go into this audio frequency out. Same idea here. And we are now going to plug this into our audio in. Again, always using that B side, never the A, unless you're plugging in a microphone. You're gonna wanna be on the B side. All right, and now that this is in, I'm gonna wait just a moment to clean it up. We're gonna do our test. We're gonna make sure we are getting signal on both ends. We're gonna turn our speakers on. And I'm gonna go ahead and start sending a signal out to these speakers right now. Okay, let's do a check. Hearing it from the EV. I'm hearing it from the K10. That's great, they're both sent. There's no XLR cables run. As you can see, this is a wireless transmission that is complete. So now that I've found that that is complete, we can go ahead and we can bring the music down and we can clean this up. Now I love the QSCs because they have like this awesome trough, very similar to this handle trough down there, but they have it on the top. They have it exactly where you want it to be. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna clean up this power cable, that receiver. So like that. And we'll put this, wedge that on top of the spool. Things are looking pretty good already, but just to add that final touch, we are going to take these pieces of tape. We'll just tape it down, making sure not to tape over this vent here, because that's going to keep the speaker cool. You don't want to tape over any vents, you don't want to tape over any fans. You just want to clean up those cables. Awesome. And last thing that you're going to want to do is raise it up to the position that is normal. In the case of background music, I usually go to about eye level with the very bottom of the speaker, so that seems pretty good. And then we'll just do our standard Fireside bungee ball cleanup to make this all look as clean as can be. This is looking clean, music's playing still clean. Let's see, there we go. Music's still playing clean, everything's good. Before we before we stow everything away, I did want to make a quick comment, something that I think is going to help with setting up for everyone. Of course, we'll eventually clean all of this up as we normally do. But before we finalize things here, I want to show you why, if you have the choice, it's nice to choose the original QSC K-Series speakers over the new K.2s. And here's what it all comes down to. On the back, the XLR input happens to be quite further from the top than they are on the back of the old QSC K speakers. So you can see right here, it's a very short cable run for that special XLR input cable right here. Now you can probably imagine, that's the full length of that cable. You can probably imagine to run that cable this much further down the back of the speaker, it works, it'll get you there, but it keeps you from being able to cradle this receiver box out in the front. So you kind of are forced to point the antenna at the back of the room, behind the speaker. It's probably not that big of a deal, but again, line of sight and direct connection of those two antennae, it makes a big difference. So I found that if you have the choice, an original K is definitely better than this because it allows, due to that length of this run and the short distance, it allows you to have more of a direct line of sight with those antennae. Now, of course, you could always take another 5-foot XLR and extend that distance when push comes to shove. You can totally do that. So that is always an option as well. But it's that much easier if you can have original K in there as well. That is it, folks. We set up one of these. To be honest, we normally will set up two. Normally, we have a second EV on the opposite side of the booth, and that would be transmitting to the other speaker that is the satellite in the other corner of the room. Again, we just set it up for one in this utilization, but just know that two is normally what you'll be setting up. The other thing that's important to know too is that you can have multiple receivers on the same transmitter's frequency. So if you ever find yourself sent, maybe it's an inventory thing and we only have one transmitter available, but we have two receivers, don't panic. You can always send one signal through one transmitter out to two receivers. So that's always an option too. If you're short on time and you can only set up those two receivers and one transmitter, that's an option as well. Just some little tricks of the trade. These are a very cool piece of equipment here that we just started mastering, and we're very excited to get them on an event with you. And we hope that it makes your life easier and keeps you from having to run XLR cable around a whole ballroom and taping down as well. These will make life a lot easier for you. We hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and we hope it helps you out. Thanks for being here.